Alright, Phil from Phil's Works here. We are back with this 1200 chopper here that has a top end issue. So in this video, I want to go through and talk about our rocker boxes. I want to go through and do a video dedicated on setting up rocker boxes. I see it all the time, people doing this wrong, using these stupid little washers. In this video, I'll show you how to do it the right way. So basically what's going on here, your rocker box can be the cause of a lot of top end noise. If you've got a knock or a rattle or something, 9 times out of 10 it's going to be your rocker boxes. These things need to be shimmed correctly every time you do a top end. So I need to do a top end on this thing, so I'm going to rip them off and then we'll get them on the bench and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So honestly, these rocker boxes only have a few parts and they are super simple to get right. You just sort of have to know the basics of what's going on. So to start with, these rocker boxes just have a rocker shaft. So this is what our rocker arm rotates on. So that goes through there like that. The rocker arm rotates on it. Now, at the end of this rocker arm is this washer. Now that determines how much float your rocker shaft has inside your rocker arm, and that's what we are setting up here. We're not going to use stupid shims, we're not going to use any of that crap, and I'll tell you why in a sec. So the way this goes in, we have our rocker arm. This is for our push rod, obviously, and this bit rides on the top of the valve. Now, if you've got excessive wear on this, you will have to grind them. I have a few videos of doing that on my YouTube. You'll just have to have a look, but I've already done these, so let's forget about that. So all we do, we jam that in there, put our washer in. Remember which way, this is for later, remember which way around you put it every time. So jam that in there, and then our rocker shaft goes through the whole lot. So we're just doing this dry for the moment. I've cleaned these heads up and everything. We're just doing it dry so that we can feel our rocker arm play. So this one is a little bit tight. Sometimes you need a little hammer to put these together. As long as you're not flogging the piss out of it, it should be right. Righto. So basically on the end of these rocker shafts are these little caps. Now we don't want to use these little caps to tighten up our rocker shaft. These little caps are just to seal. They have a little O-ring and these little caps just stop it from leaking. So what we want to do, we want to put our shafts in like that, and then we have a nut on the end. Now this nut tightens up our whole rocker shaft against the shoulder. So where that washer is, our shaft is tightening up against that washer against the shoulder. Now let's just go through, tighten this up. These bolts are usually a 5/8 unless someone's changed it. I don't know why people do, but people think their dome nuts look cooler, whatever. So we just tighten up. Now the most important thing about these nuts is you probably want to do this with a torque wrench if this is your first time doing it, because you want these nuts to be the same tension every time. If you have it tighter one time and looser the other, maybe you'll have this rocker arm lock up, and you don't want that. So all we do, we just want to make sure our rocker arm is loose like that, and then what we do is check our play. So our up and down, you hear that noise? So that is our rocker arm banging up and down because there is excessive play in here. So what we want to do, we're going to take out that washer and we're going to machine a little recess so that the shaft can go further in and bring up that lash a little bit. We want that to be nicer. This is a rocker box that I've already set up, and see there is no up and down movement. It basically doesn't move at all, but it's not locked up. You just want to ride that really tight line between being super loose and not banging back and forth. So this one is good to go. Now this one, let's take our washer out and I'll show you what I mean. I think this washer has already been done. We're just going to have to redo it, which is all right. So pull it apart just like that. We can leave our rocker arm in there. We don't have to pull that out. Our little washer will come out without taking the rocker arm out. If you just use your humble little magnet, it pulls it out just like that. Now come in and have a look and I'll show you what I mean by machining this. So what we mean about machining it, if you have a look on this washer, you see how it's got that little machined recess. Now what that does is, when our shaft comes through here, that little recess goes over our boss here. This is the shoulder that it tightens up on. So by recessing our washer, it is bringing this distance closer together so that our rocker arm doesn't float in here. So let's go over the lathe. We just want to make that a little bit deeper. So over here at the lathe, all I've got going on, I've just got a simple little boring bar on here, and I'm just going to put the washer in our chuck here, just make sure it's spinning true. And this one already has a bit of a recess in it, so I'm just going to copy said recess, and we're just going to go in a little bit further. By making that recess a little bit deeper, we are taking up the slop in our rocker arm. So and you want to make sure this thing is spinning true. So it's not spinning very true at the moment. That's better. So all we're going to do is come in and take a little bit off. So you see, I've made this little recess there on this here washer. Now what that does is, this is the shoulder where all this locks up on in the rocker box. So by doing that recess there, we are taking up a bit of this gap here, and that is how we're going to set our rocker float. So we just got to remember to put this in the rocker box the right direction. So it needs to go in that direction. So let's go back to our rocker box and put this together. Now remember, I'm setting this thing up clean and dry, and the reason for that is sometimes the oil can give you a false reading. So it feels like there's no gap there, but there is, because the oil's taking it up. So we just put that together like that, tighten this up. Remember, we always want this to be about the same tightness. So if you can't sort of gauge that, just get yourself a torque wrench. So put that together like that, and we still have that back and forth play. So another way we can do this, for argument's sake, you can get your little feeler gauges here, jam your feeler gauge in there, find the right one, and then take off pretty well that in the lathe. So I'm going to go and take a little bit more off this, but I just want to show you, if you go too far, see, this one is tight. See, it only moves a tiny little bit. So what we do with that one, we just machine off the face of the rocker, of that washer. So let me pull this apart, I'll show you. So this is gone. This is if you go too far. So when we go too far, we just want to take a little skim off the whole face of the washer, and that will give us our playback. So I'm going to go and do that now. So there we go, I just machined the face off. So that face is super nice. So let's go try it back in our rocker box. Righto, so we stick this thing back in. Let's see how we did. This one is super tight. All right, same tightness, and we are freaking locked up again. So, all right, so if you find yourself in the same predicament as me, this rocker arm is a little bit tight. So we need to do the complete opposite. We're making a recess on this side to take up the slack. We need to make an opposite recess to give this rocker arm a little more slack. So let's go over the lathe and I'll show you what I mean. So basically what's happening here is when our rocker arm tightens up before our washer tightens on the shoulder, the rocker arm gets stuck. So what we need to do, we need to recess this bit out, but leave a little shoulder here so that it goes in there and seats. So what we're going to do, we're going to do the opposite. We're going to cut this and then leave a little seat just like that. So let me put it in here and I'll show you what I mean. So we just want to set this up. Now, a little machinist trick, when you spin this, just leave it loose and you spin it and knock it. So most of the time you'll hit the higher point and then it'll true it up. So we just spin it. Give it a little knock like that, and like I said, most of the time you'll get the high point. So to do this one, you just want to put on a normal just turning tool like that, and we just want to take a little bit of a recess off there. So you see what I've done there, I've done literally opposite. So I've machined out this little bit here to give our rocker arm clearance, and then I've left the shoulder on the inside. So when we put this together, just like that, the shoulder on there will bottom out with our shaft first before it hits our rocker arm. So let's go put this in the rocker box and see what it's like. Alright, so always remember to put our little washer the right way. That is literally the biggest thing we've got to make sure here. Let's see if our rocker arm has a bit more play now. Nice little knock. Use the thing to do that. Look at that. So this thing is pretty well good now. See, I am freely operating now and there's next to no back and forth. So that is that one absolutely done. So now I've just got to go back and do a little bit more on this one that still has excessive play. Alright, fingers crossed, this is it. The only thing we're going to have to do once we get our shims correct is we're just going to have to pull it apart and oil it up before we tighten it up for the last time. Now, the best way to do that is one at a time so you don't mix all your crap up. The correct shaft has to stay in the correct hole with the correct washer and the correct rocker arm. They all have to match for this to work properly. You can't swap and change them, unfortunately. That's why this is a little bit tricky. So I can go a little bit more on this one, but you guys basically get the gist on this. Righto, so I have both rocker boxes now all set up. I've pulled these apart, I've oiled them up and put them back together. So now these things move like butter. They should move absolutely perfectly with a bit of oil in there. No binding up, no nothing, just move nice and smoothly. So last thing we got to do, we just want to put on our little oil caps here. So if you're doing a top end or whatever and you just buy a top end kit, these O-rings will come with it. If you're not, if you're just replacing the O-rings, you can just do a bit of a measure, work out what they are and then get them from your local freaking O-ring joint. So bearing places will probably have them. So all you do, you just, as always with any O-ring, you just put a little bit of oil on it so that it doesn't bind up on any of the surfaces. Put her in there and you really don't want to swing off these things much. You see people that they start to leak and they absolutely swing off it, which in turn spins the whole shaft, and then it's all locked up and then you fuck it. So you can feel the O-ring compressing, and then you will feel a metal on metal, and that's as far as it needs to go. Don't put any Loctite or any type of sealing on this thing. I've seen people put fucking thread tape on this. Don't put anything on the thread. The thread is not sealing, the O-ring is sealing. The O-ring is sealing between the two flats there. So don't put anything on there. Don't do what your mate tells you to do. Just do it like this. I hope this was a pretty painless, sort of a quick example of how you should be doing your rocker boxes. Sure, you can go a bit more in depth, but that is literally the gist of it. There's nothing else to it. It's that simple. So, like I said, all I've got left to do now is whack these on the heads for this 1200 and then slap the rest of the top end on. So, thanks for watching this one, guys. Have a look at some of my other videos. I do heaps of engine stuff. So, have a look, and I will have the video up on this 1200, me getting it all together, running, riding bike after this video. So I'll see you on that one.